It's 1 minute past 9. We are slow. I am slow to bring Jim onto the screen this morning, live from Porto. Our dear friend, my great Jim. How are you this morning?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm so well, thank you. Yeah, a little bit tardy, a little bit. I've been calm my
No. You're here. You're here.
That's the main thing, isn't it?
That's the main thing, to be here. I'm really happy to be here and to see everybody.
I saw
this
you
is
giggling,
great.
Jim. I saw
Pardon
you
me?
giggling. I saw you giggling with some of those fashion items. Are you thinking?
Yes, I had some of those when I left Baltimore. I had many of those things that went to the junk pile and the Goodwill. I think maybe about half of them were things that I found down in the basement.
And I hope you walked from the basement to the end of your yard with them sported like that.
Oh, yeah, I dressed for that. The neighbors loved it. They were waiting every day to see what I would be doing with that. So
I had no idea that Baltimore was so high up in the world.
Oh, it's a progressive place.
Of course it is. And you are wearing a beautiful hat. You're fitting in with this image of me and Zapovina there.
I decided to do that after I came too close. I went into the wrong hairdressers or barber shop, and my Portuguese is bad, and I think when I said medium to long, he thought I was saying sort of medium to short, so it went short. So yeah.
You're not going to show us.
Won't show, not today.
Not showing,
but I just wanted to say hello to everybody, and I'm glad to be here. And I'd like to start out with a shameless plug, if I could.
But you can.
For you.
Oh, okay. Yes, definitely then.
All right. And for EI and Gilda and Christina, for Nuno, for the Spartan FX folks, and also for Serenity. If it weren't for all of you, and including those of us in the audience, we wouldn't be here.
Oh, bless you, Jim.
We wouldn't be here. And we so appreciate everything that you are doing to make it possible for people to come and create a new life for themselves. Thank you so much.
Well, that is putting the moving into moving to Portugal on Move to Portugal Thursday. That is so touching, and thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Yes, and all of those lovely folks. These are real people we're dealing with, aren't they? Well,
they are.
And they're not. They are, of course, they're companies, and they are businesses. And the wonderful thing is, we on a regular basis we get to see the human side. You get to know who you're dealing with, and it's lovely to hear from you. What I take away from that is that the folks, as they present themselves and as they communicate on the show, are just like they are in real life, and when you're dealing with them in business.
They are. They are. Yeah, I remember our first meeting with Gilda on in a Zoom call for the vetting process, and we were so nervous about. We didn't, the whole process and whether or not we had enough money and all, and we could, and she was reassuring. And then as we went forward with Christina, we got so much reassurance. And I say this because they really, we wanted our hands to be held with this, and they came with us to our CEF meeting as well. Oh, and wow. So it's a complete service.
Yes, incredible. Well, I'm sure Gilda and Christine will be delighted to hear that, as will you mentioned Nunu from Winsurance, Sarah from Spartan. I know will be delighted as well. Recently over in Portugal, she wants to come back. I think she's saying to her colleagues, you know what, going to Portugal really works. I think it really helps. So I'm booking my next flight right now. So it was lovely to see. So you work with Sarah and Spartan Effects, and you mentioned Michael as well.
Michael and Serenity. Yeah, we're working with Sophia and Michael there, and very, very pleased with the references, referrals, and things like that. And so it really everything has made our lives as easy as it could be under the circumstances. So
yeah, of course, yeah. So when the curveballs do come, we've managed to or you've managed to cope with them.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. And iron out any wrinkles. Talking of Michael Averbook, he's with us tonight on our webinar. Misconceptions and misinformation about access to healthcare in Portugal. So you can get to meet Michael, Dr. Averbook, in the way that Jim has here as well. Thank you, Jim. I wasn't expecting that, and I'm so glad you said all of that. I really am. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Oh,
my
superb.
friend.
So, yeah, the process you speak of, when did it begin and what inspired you to move to this wonderful country?
Well, once upon a time in March of 2020, there was a couple living in Baltimore with 3 cats whose businesses radically shifted from being teaching yoga in clubs, etc., and teaching in organizations to online. And as
Yep.
we shifted to online, we realized that this could be done in a different place and lots of circumstances. So we decided to explore Portugal to 2020
Oh,
in March. We began the process and then discovered you and the resources, there are Facebook resources as well. There are expat communities that are very, very helpful as well, and began to imagine how it could be to be there. And coincidentally, part of it was art.
oh,
And building on what you are doing with Terrence yesterday and what he was doing with us,
yeah.
one of our drivers here was the fact that Mandy is an artist and is interested in urban sketching. And as we looked around Europe and looked at all of the variable kinds of things, it was just made sense to start to really look at Portugal, and particularly to look at Porto and Coimbra, and to say as a place to land. And
Okay.
that's what brought us.
Okay, that's amazing. March 2020 was quite a significant time to be moving around in the world, wasn't it?
Oh, it was. It
As it
was.
turned out.
It was. And we couldn't, and we didn't take, we're like about half of the folks who come over, coming over sight unseen, our seeing of Portugal was through your eyes.
Okay.
And that was, and we came sight unseen, and we regret nothing.
That's incredible. But by virtue of the circumstances, that had to be the way, I guess. And
Yeah.
the way I've told your story is I met you here on the Silver Coast. You landed in Peniche first, and it was
Yes.
our loss not to. Excuse me a minute.
Oh,
That's better. It was our loss to have you move from Peniche, I thought, and the Silver Coast
oh,
up to Porto.
thank
But
you.
now I hear more of the backstory. It makes complete sense. How is the urban sketching going? Because those places are wonderful for such activity.
They are wonderful. It's just amazing. And Mandy goes out every afternoon and gets her favorite coffee shop, and then does her sketching. And I've joined a group here for some ongoing things, and so she loves it. Just loves it.
That's superb. Well, I hope we can see Mandy's work. Love to Mandy, by the way, and
Thank you.
it'll be wonderful if she exhibits one day. Maybe we can help with that, with some sort of virtual exhibition, if not a physical one. That
Yeah,
sounds
very
good.
good.
And
Love to.
I'm inspired as well. Or I was very inspired to see on Visit Portugal. They came up with a campaign called, I think they're called Sketches of Portugal, Sketches Around Portugal, where they have a visual artist and a poet or a prose writer, and they make these little videos from a location where with the sketchers sketching and the poet
Nice.
speaking of that experience. And
Nice.
the sad thing about it is they're on Visit Portugal's YouTube channel, and they've only had like 100 views. So I will spread the word on that. I have reached out to them because I want to show them on the show, but I need
Oh,
their permission,
yes.
obviously.
Yeah.
It's such a lovely idea. Portugal is such a photogenic, sketch-worthy, if that's the right description, but it is so visually appealing and wanting to be drawn, isn't it?
Oh, it is. And we live in an area of Porto. It's north of the river, about a mile and a half. It's still considered in the city, and we're near one of the major metros, the Marques Park Metro. And with it, you can walk out your door, and left, right, everywhere, cafes. Of course, you can't get a good pastry here. I'm not sure what the problem is about pastries. I really wish they would do something with their pastry.
Well, my heart goes out to you, and I do hope that that situation improves soon. this country and its awful pastries, honestly.
Terrible pastries.
You know what, Jim? You're going to get me in trouble because sometimes the humor on this show goes unnoticed, and somebody on YouTube, in a couple of days' time, will say, "How very dare you," or something like that. It's a joke. It's a joke.
It's a joke. I love the pastries too much. I love them.
There's the problem.
I
Not
don't
that
know why I hadn't heard about them when I was in the US, but I love them and I'm so glad they're here.
Well, that's the thing. You know, there are so many well-kept secrets, and we'll disclose a few of those, I think, in just a moment. But people loving what you're opening this morning. Yes, says James. Let's hear it for all GMP's partners, Expats Portugal's partners there. And look, Gilda was here to hear that as well.
Oh.
Sending you a few kisses there, Jim, this morning. And congrats on the move, Jim, from Rishab, who's part of our community here. It is touching that Carlos helped so many people to come. Erotic novel entry possibly there as well.
That's for after show.
It is, isn't it? Peter, honestly. Carlo GP, gateway for many expats. Oh, thank you, T-Duck. We're very proud of the work we do in helping people Expats Portugal. Sarah, Nuno, and Buddy saying wash hands. That when that comes up, that's a joyful emoji, I think, and then it gets translated by our software as wash hands for some reason. For all the supporting, we're not washing our hands of anything here. Quite the opposite. For all the supporting agencies and professionals helping us make our move here. Yeah, absolutely. And big shout out for Gilda as well. James to see Gilda here this morning. Oh, and Mia as well. Shout out to Mia for the language support too. Mia Esmeres, I think back from Hawaii now, so we'll see her at the end of July. 60% of the move to Portugal is emotional. I'm sure we'll talk about this, Jim. Sure, it's emotional support. Sure, it's 100% emotional and 60% emotional support. Sure, you can do so many things on your own, but the community support makes a huge difference. Yes. And announcement from Cindy for anyone who thinks I'm ignoring them. I am dealing with allergies causing my ear to stop up, and it makes it difficult to hear. I'm glad I mentioned it because isn't it great to mention these things rather than running off and jumping to conclusions? A very simple medical situation behind this. It's getting better and hopefully will completely clear soon. Not ignoring us at all. So love to you, Cindy B, for a speedy recovery on that. The allergies bunging up your ears there. That is awful, isn't it? When you're in a social situation and you're concerned that you might not be able to hear people. And so good to see you yesterday, says the T-Duck. Hope you feel better soon. Yes, the emotions of moving. Jim, you are a personal development professional, so I think you more than many others will be aware of some of the dynamics going on when moving country. What have you got to say about that?
Well, I have I've worked in the area for a long time, and I thought because I'd done this for a long time and lived in some different places and felt like I'd adapted well, I knew, what it was about.
Yes.
However, as I got here, I didn't know totally what it was about and and this was not about Portugal. It's about me in Portugal. And it is about dealing with my own frustrations about feeling stupid sometimes because you can't get the ATM card working, and the conversation is about something going on inside. I should know this. I've done this before. What's wrong? Those kinds of things can wear on you. And so realizing that was a part of the conversation in my head, it impacts your mood, etc., and your outlook. And I think it goes back to the Buddhist thing. It's just have a beginner's mind. How do you live in a beginner's mind?
Yes.
To recognize that all of this is different, and how can you expect yourself to understand everything? You don't have the language. You have maybe some physical cues about how people stand and walk, etc. But there's a lot of information you don't have, and as you know, we make stuff up. And unfortunately, I make it up about myself. And so
that's really interesting. If I may dwell on that for a moment, because I love how you put that. It's going on in me, isn't it? It's not about Portugal. I mean, it is in a sense. Portugal is the projection screen or the trigger.
It's the screen,
Wherever you are is the screen or the trigger. The circumstances you find yourself in, and here we're talking about being in new circumstances, they will be the stimulation for what then goes on inside you. And as you say, the stories we make up. So if you have a little bit of a script about, oh, I can't do things, or I'm not very good at X, Y, or Z, that's likely to happen, isn't it? When you find yourself in the beginner's mind in not the most positive of ways.
Not the positive. And the spiral, as we all know, once we get into that, we can spiral down very quickly. if we
Yes,
don't
yeah.
have a way to interrupt it somehow.
Yeah, so some people might be recognizing that. So, for example, solo 50 plus expat Portugal. Louise, so great to see you again yesterday. On the subject of moving to Portugal, I'm sitting in the IMT office with ticket number, what is this? 147,889. I think that's a little bit of an exaggeration there. The wows of changing a driving license. So that's one of those situations where you're sat there, especially then when you see on the screen IMT now serving number 16. Very funny, T Duck. Not a fan of IMT, but that could change at any moment for T Duck. What do you do? What have you done yourself personally? What would you say to other people who find themselves in these spirals? Because it can go from a nice day out, having just had one of those lovely pastries you mentioned and a coffee, then you go and do a bit of bureaucratic work, and that trigger happens. What to do in that situation, Jim?
Well, aside from Superbach, which I don't
Yes.
necessarily, yeah, that seriously though, I think it's part, as we've talked on here before, it's recognizing the pattern. First of all, it's just all of a sudden, oh, there I go again. Oh,
Yeah.
there it is. There's
There
that
it is.
there it is. And then the moving into the physical part and moving into breath and breathing and working to calm your nervous system down enough so
Yes.
that you can see a different way out of it. I mean, sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. All of these somatic techniques, mind body techniques, work to the degree that you can work them, but they're not 100%.
No, fair enough. But
I
make a
think
start.
that's part of it. And then recognize when you get into a bad mood, if kind of track back to what may have triggered that bad mood, and
Yes.
how might I think my way around it. But it's hard to think your way out of an emotion, so it
Oh,
has to get
yes.
physical many times.
Yes, get back into the body. And I
Yeah.
suppose it's what you're talking about. People will recognize as mindfulness, seeing it going
Yes.
on and creating a little bit of transcendence and space,
Sure.
allowing it, and not hopefully going too deep into those particular emotional rabbit holes. All
Yeah.
very useful and interesting stuff, and something to be aware of. As I've said before, after the luggage comes the baggage, right? So that is part of the after part of the
That's
journey is
right.
yes, I love all the pastries and the coffee and the super bock, and then yourself catches up with you, doesn't it? Wherever you go, there you are.
There you are. That's right. It does. And I think starting out, one of the things that is helpful is start out the day with crafting a mood. So if the
Oh,
question is, what mood do I want to craft today?
okay.
And there are some things that do work. Is asking yourself. This comes from Tony Robbins' work, the
Yeah.
NLP kinds of stuff. But asking yourself 5 questions, and then feeling the feelings around those questions to see if that shifts your trajectory. It may or may not, but it can't hurt. And you ask the question, so what am I looking forward to? And then feel it.
Yeah.
And what am I grateful? What am I looking forward to? What am I excited about? And then feel that. So you let it wash over you. What am I grateful for? Let that wash over. What am I proud of? Let it wash over. And then where is love in my life? And it can be a pet or a person or whatever. And let those answers to those questions wash over you to see if it does help a little bit in terms of the startled look that you have when you look in the mirror in the morning and say, Dad, oh,
What are you doing here?
what are you doing here?
Get out of my bathroom. Oh, that list, Jim. That just hearing you say that without even doing the exercise, I moved from my head to my heart there, and that's beautiful. So, are you on our forum, expatsportugal.com/community? Can people connect with you, or maybe
Yes,
can we get those published over there? That would be great if we
sure.
could.
Sure. I'd be happy to do that. Sure.
What a lovely process, because there's no excuse anymore, is there? I mean, in a busy working life, I haven't got time to sit down and contemplate 5 questions every morning. But over coffee and the pastel donata that we've spoken about, you could do that, couldn't you?
Yeah, you can. And from what I have read and here is that the most powerful one of those quote emotions, I guess, or feeling states is gratitude.
Yeah.
and being able to move into gratitude wherever you happen to be can be a bit of a remedy for a mood, a bit.
A bit.
But it's very powerful according to current research anyway.
Yeah, it'll move you that little bit along in a more favorable direction along the emotional scale, of course.
Yes.
And there are hopefully many things that many of us here can be grateful for and express our gratitude. So tell us a bit about Porto and the gratitude, the delight you're having in that city. Not a place I know very well. I've been a couple of times and really enjoyed myself, as people do. But what's your view of Porto, having spent quite a few months there now?
Yeah, we've been here since February, and we do love it. And what we love about this is about Portugal and Porto, and this is, people say, what is it that you like about the country? And I think stepping back, it's safe, sane, and civil.
Yeah.
And we all know what's going on in other parts of the world, but and Porto feels safe and sane and civil, and it turns up every day. And I'll give you an example, and this might in the US or UK or whatever might not be a big deal, but Mandy does her art. She goes to a cafe every day and has coffee and a pastinata, and then goes out and does her art and sketching. And she had a feeling that she had made a faux pas at one time, because we don't have Portuguese. She doesn't have Portuguese. So she had a feeling that she had a faux pas. She'd made a faux pas. And she was reluctant to go back because she had the story, just like we all have a story, about what had gone on. I had a cold and an allergy, not you did something wrong kind of thing.
Yes.
And she goes back and she's there and she's got her purse sitting there. And the person that was waiting on her moved her purse down and gave her a large sardine. Very large. It was a gift. Tears came to her eyes. She felt like so much that was just a sign of, it's subtle. It's not a big deal in other circumstances, but in this particular circumstances, getting a unasked for sardine that was about, I don't know, that long. It was huge.
Yes.
It wasn't in a can. It was, a real sardine.
A grilled one. Absolutely.
Grilled sardine. So that's blowing that up in terms of the feel of the place, in terms of the people and the interaction. It feels real. We hang out at a cafe that's not very far from here. It's it's very varied all of the time, not fancy at all. And the life there is very nice. It's nice to watch. It's nice to feel. It feels you're being held somehow.
Yeah.
And they're all different people going all different kinds of ways. Yet that the feeling is that this is a nice place to be.
Yes, incredible. No, I do know that feeling, and that's one of my benchmarks for what I love about Portuguese cafes. I don't know what stimulated the conversation I was having with Mrs. M about this, but our favorites aren't especially what we would call posh. They are what you've just nailed it with that what you just said there. You go in there and you feel held. It's not all about the style or the presentation.
No,
because the food's going to be pretty wholesome.
It is wholesome. And the folks who are there, they're working. They're from all walks of life, and it's everything from folks who just got off the job of construction to actually tourists walking down the street and say, "Oh, this looks like an interesting place," and it's varied.
Yes, and the little smile you get. This is one of my favorites. Is a real the village cafe called Carlos's, funnily enough. But that's what we always felt when we went in there. And there would be workers in there. There'll be local families, a really good mix of people. But we felt held. You're right. That's a beautiful word. Part of it is a function of the local community, isn't it? It's not just a catering transaction. There's a social function of these places, isn't there?
It is. And right next door, literally, is a posher pizzeria, Italian, very fine, California blonde wood place. If you get that kind of image, with not scanned, but IKEA chairs, but fancy IKEA chairs and things. It's very, very nice. And of course, the prices are quite different, but it's quite a different feel. It's comfortable.
Yes.
There's nothing wrong with it. It's comfortable.
Yeah.
And it's different.
Yes, all you would expect from a meal out, and that will be satisfied. But that X factor we're talking about there is really important, isn't it, in the local cafe, and obviously something that you really love. Jim, it's wonderful talking to you this morning. Let's see what others are saying.
Sure.
You might want to stick around for the conversation on technology that we have coming up.
We'll
Dallas will be talking to us about tech tips for people newly arrived, probably from the United States, North America. I think some of this will be transferable to other places as well, but we'll see when we talk to Dallas. But certainly, I think I'll find out properly what a VPN is in a little while. You know what a VPN is?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, okay, very good. Okay. Well,
not to explain it technically, but I know what it does.
Okay, our next guest will be able to do that sort of thing for us there and help us with transferring those telephone numbers, those sorts of things, and those.
You turn it on.
Yes.
Turn it off.
That's the limit of your. So I don't really know what it is, but you know how to turn it on. Okay, so we'll find out a little bit more in a few minutes' time with Dallas. Love that. What's this? Through your eyes statement. That's what I try to do with my YouTube channel. It hasn't gone unnoticed, Louise, and I think that's why people love your YouTube channel. IMT for you, Louise. It's pretty quick process after you've done those biometrics. I found saying "de scoop" often and sincerely helped. Has that got you by in a few situations, Jim, as well? The old "de scoop"?
Yes. When I don't do it in Spanish. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
That's not a good idea.
That's not a good idea. Yes, absolutely. Oh, wash hands is clapping. So thank you for that. So we got the clap from Baddy there. The problem with them, the Portuguese pastries, is that they're too good. Absolutely. That's the way. It. Brian's in this morning. I think we've got, going back to Victoria and creativity, I think we've got a confession that is connected with Spain in just a moment. They're pretty nice, to be honest. The IMT certainly happier than the DVLA, which is the UK equivalent. Yes, smash that likey button. Yeah, beautiful morning this morning talking to Jim. As I expected, things that we well, I was expecting the unexpected. I knew you'd deliver us a few gems this morning, and you have, Jim. Thank you so much for being here on Moving to Portugal Thursday. So happy I came with that beginner's mind, says James, one of those gems that you were talking about. And little to no attachment. Well, that's going to help, isn't it? If you haven't got expectations, they can't be dashed, I guess, with that as well.
Speaking of attachments, we left Baltimore with 18 suitcases, which seems to be too much now. So the rest of everything else stayed back or went away.
I thought you were going to make a Hoover joke there. You know, why do Buddhists? Why can't Buddhists Hoover in the corners? Because they've got no attachments.
They don't, no attachments.
Yes, that's right. But 18 cases, Jim. You did it that way. You chose not to ship.
Three cats and 18 suitcases.
Must ask you quickly then, how are the cats settling in? How is that process for anyone wanting to bring cats?
It's lovely. My advice is, though, make sure when you get into the airport in Lisbon that you know where your cats that you've sent in the hold are supposed to go.
Yes.
Because if you get out of security and you haven't gotten your cats, getting back in to get your cats is an ordeal. So we learned about that. And they're safe and sound and happy.
And quite difficult when you've got 18 cases to look after between two of you.
Yeah, it was yes. We didn't take the obligatory pictures of us, you know, straddling 3 carts or 4 carts. I wish we had. We just didn't have the presence of mind to do something that complicated when we were already complicated.
Well, but that must have been amazing. The train of 18 cases coming through there and 3 cats as well. Brilliant.
Yeah, both of us, a cart in each hand pushing up a hill.
Incredible. Yeah. So you deserved your pastry that day for sure.
Boy, was that good.
Yeah,
that was really good.
It's good to remember this for those on scouting trips. It's not only Portugal you're scouting, but rather you're scouting yourself in Portugal.
That's
how about
great.
that?
Absolutely.
Yes, how you feel. First visit to Porto was miserable. For me, 6 months later, awesome. Okay, so you changed maybe and not Porto there. Thank you, Rebecca, for being here and saying that. And this is the big announcement, everybody. Heading to Spain in a few minutes, I think, as well there. How could you, Victoria? Well, we hope you have a lovely time over there. We forgive you. We forgive you. Yeah, amazing. And we know you love the Iberian Peninsula. So T-45, and that was a few minutes ago. Have a beautiful time. Do send us a postcard,
Beautiful.
virtual or actual. It would be lovely to see that. Have a wonderful time over there, Victoria. I'm in Coimbra, says Rebecca, which is also super hilly. The views are nice from the top, but getting to the top isn't as delightful. Well, that's a life metaphor, isn't it?
Yeah,
You got to earn the view, I guess, sometimes.
Yeah, that's right.
Dealing with bureaucracy is difficult, but add it to the limits from old age and health issues, and it becomes almost impossible. Mars, we're doing our best, to help you. It is a challenge, no question. I don't want to make light of that. It can be challenging when you have age. I was going to say going against you. I don't want to put it like that, but of course, yes, things can become a little bit
carrying you along.
Yes, carrying you along. That's the way to put it. Yes, so we'll do our best to help you, Moaz. And I'm with the wisdom that we're gathering among us. I hope that helps with a little bit of wind beneath your wings as well. Okay, it's 9:32. Before we go, then finally to find out about tech for the travelers. No regrets, then, Jim. Delighted to have made it. What would you say to anyone else thinking about this?
Don't hesitate. You know, if you're thinking about it and contemplating it, if there's any, just pay. Don't hesitate. It's really, really worth it to do this. And I think, it's always the question, why didn't we think about this sooner? That's the whole, I wish we had done this sooner.
Funnily enough, we don't often hear people say, what you should do is delay your dreams. We hear this a lot in this community. Get on with it, do it. Do the necessary research, make the right choices.
Sure.
But go for it. And thank you for reiterating that, Jim. It's clearly worked for you. And when we dig deeper into this, look, after luggage comes the baggage.
I love it. I think you're
on our faculty with that. And we have talked, haven't we, about how you'll be available to help people in some way with this sort of issue. Jim, thank you so much. Stick around. Don't go anywhere.
Okay. Thank you so much. Dallas. Good to see everybody.
Thank you. Pleasure's ours. Dallas is joining us now. Is that really you? On our feedback, we have marks out of 5. 5 stars. What would you give us?
Oh, 5.